Cái nhà của đâu có dịch cả. Có bản nhạc của Thanh Tùng gọi là Ngõ Vắng Sông Sao. Không biết muốn ăn miếng thịt bò, bún bò hay muốn ăn chút phụ tế Lâm Giang không ăn gì nát nào. Ok, rồi để tôi cho cái đi đánh răng nha.
On the rooftop terrace of her restaurant, she showed me her recipe for blue corn tamales and squash.
Now we have here lard.
Yes. It's kind of soft.
Yeah.
A lot of times we see lard that's really firm. This is softer than that.
We start mixing.
I've noticed that it's already getting lighter in color.
Okay. Now you can put it. Break it a little bit.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now you start mixing.
It's a beautiful color, kind of a gray blue.
Now, help me with the salt.
Yes.
And now, we put it on.
Okay, now for the chipil, you've just taken the leaves off of the chipil.
Yeah.
And then there's some little flowers up there. So you just want to get the leaves and maybe some of the flowers.
Inside of the squash blossom, we put more masa and then we wrap.
Okay. With the filling and the squash blossoms all ready to go, Pilar prepared banana leaves by passing them over hot coals. This softens them and releases an amazing aroma. Okay, next is...
Okay, we start wrapping. I put a little bit of liquid here. You can
Just
put
water.
water or chicken broth. Put it in the middle.
Squash. Oh, these look beautiful.
And we make it
Nice.
roll. Here.
Oh, and then we're going to tie them up. Tied up into those fresh banana leaf wrappers. The squash blossom tamales are absolutely. Now let's talk for a second about squash blossoms. You can grow them yourself. And you can take them off of any kind of squash plant in that huge family, anything from zucchini all the way to big jack-o'-lantern. Now, there are two types of squash blossoms on every plant. There's the male blossom and the female. In the kitchen, we use the male blossom. And let me look around and I'm going to find, here's a male blossom, so I can show you what that looks like. So what you look for is the pistil that's in the middle of that. And it looks very different than the female blossom. The female blossom is the one that's going to produce fruit, and we've got one right over here. You can see how incredibly different that looks on the inside, but you can also see that this one has been pollinated, so it's setting fruit and it's going to produce that butternut squash. Now off of two vigorous butternut squash vines at the height of the season, we'll harvest over a dozen male blossoms a day, which means that it's pretty easy for you to produce some absolutely delicious squash blossom quesadillas or maybe a squash blossom soup with roasted chili. It's all within your reach. Laura also wanted to show me a sweet tamale that's made with a type of pumpkin they call tama. The pumpkin is cut into large pieces and cooked with Mexican cinnamon and that dark sugar that they call piloncillo. The whole thing takes about 45 minutes. As the pumpkin softens, it gets mashed and then the skins are removed. Oh, it's all those flavors that are just coming right up out of the pot. Beautiful with all the pumpkin. Okay. When it's finished cooking, it's this beautiful dark color. This tamal batter was also made by whipping some lard and then stirring in the masa. This time it's made from yellow. Then our squash mixture was added to the masa along with some sugar. That batter was spooned into a corn husk. Some fabulous Oaxacan chocolate was tucked inside, and the corn husks were wrapped tight in a special way that makes them look like little presents. When we finished, we were to steam the corn husk and place the tamales inside one by one to cook. This is the moment that my mouth is watering just when we made these tamales. Now I got a chance to actually eat it. Now I'm going to go to the savory one. I love squash blossoms so much because they're so beautiful and they have that delicate kind of herbal flavor. This one.
Okay, so let's start here then. Some of my favorite dishes, entertaining.
Có thì muốn cà phê, muốn sữa,
Now I want to hear what
uống nước không uống sữa.
Uống nước rồi chứ. Giờ này cà phê gì nữa? Cà phê uống sáng rồi.
Uống ly gì không?
Có không? Nghe kinh có không?
Ly canh.
Đâu đưa tôi uống miếng không?
Muốn uống latte hay canh hay muốn uống bùi chát?
Đưa chát đi con chát. Chát đi nó ngon đi.
Hay muốn uống đế quốc danh?
Thôi uống cái sau cùng thì cũng được.
This program was made possible by
your chipotle shrimp fruit tart, stir-fried marinara, enchilada, lobster minestrone, weekend roast, French toast maker has arrived. 5-star. Unleash your
Sao không đợi gặp anh Giai không?
Ừ.
Có hả? Có nói gì không? Ông Đoàn Quang mời tới nhà sự September 2nd Labor Day đi chơi. Còn Minh Quang mời. Ủa, lâu quá rồi. Ông là sư phụ mà. Ồ quên, ngồi chút rồi tôi đánh răng cho Cathy. Tháng 9 quanh nó về Việt Nam nó Cathy muốn gửi gắm gì không? Con của ông Dung nó tên là Tường Vi, nó vô đại học, nó muốn học về quản trị ngân hàng. Thì nói nó nghe nói bây giờ Việt Nam á ai cũng coi phim đại hàng á, cho nên thích về quản trị ngân hàng. Thì tới hỏi nói email hỏi nói vậy chứ rồi học ngành nó có việc làm không? Thì nó nói lần đầu là có người quen làm khách sạn, hứa giúp cho nó công an việc làm. Rồi tôi hỏi người đó làm gì trong khách sạn, cái nó nói email tiếp là nó nói là bên nội nó có khẩu phần trong khách sạn. Rồi hứa là khi nó làm ra thì có việc làm, thì học xong rồi có việc làm cho nó. Tôi nói nếu mà đi học xong 4-5 năm đại học tốn tiền của mà không có việc làm nữa, thì khổ cả đời. Đó. Thì nó nói nó với đề nghị nó học y tá ở học sinh quốc gia. Nga nói Việt Nam đâu ai thèm làm mấy nghề đó, ai cũng muốn làm ăn mặc đẹp sang trọng thấy chứ đâu làm nghề y tá, không ai ở Việt Nam không làm. Rồi nó nhắc nhở nó rồi tới tháng tới quanh về gửi ít tiền cho nó, cho tiếp về chăm cho nó về chăm, chứ học đại học thì không biết bao nhiêu tiền mà nói. Đại học nó thì chắc cũng tốn nhiều lắm. Bữa nay thì bé Trâm cũng vô đại học, học về y khoa. Nguyệt nghỉ phép 10 ngày để lo cho bé Trâm vô đại học. Bé Trâm học nội trú. Còn mèo cũng tốt nghiệp đại học có thì thọ nó biểu quốc học nha sĩ. Nó giúp qua đây ở như nói không biết con mèo có qua không. Gấu thì tốt nghiệp đại học mà về vấn đề vẽ hình trên computer không biết có việc chưa, nhưng mà email thì Hùng nó không có. Giờ có thể nói chuyện Hùng tí không? Có em con Hùng đó, nó đổi điện thoại rồi vẫn được. Con nhỏ tên gì? Em Hùng có tên gì ơi Kali? That I love to make, and to be honest with you, we've been making this my entire life, not knowing that it was even Italian wedding soup or a variation thereof. Em nhớ em nó tên gì? Thì không nhớ, ai nhớ nổi. Bus. Using basically whatever leftover black-eyed peas or whatever legumes we have left over, and then whatever braised greens that we have. We always have some mustard greens or something of that nature. So we have those things left over, and what do you do with them? A lot of times, even on my Sunday supper table, I'll have some leftover things that I like to combine to make a great soup. A lot of people generally keep a little sausage on hand. If not sausage, you've got like some ground beef. Ông Phạm Viết Khoan, Phạm Viết Chó gửi là hai Cali. Lâu quá sao không đi Cali chơi. Mixing bowl here. What I'm going to do with this ground meat is actually use it to make some meatballs. And so we add a little bit of onion. Oh, what the heck? We'll add a lot of onion. That's about half an onion chopped up. A lot of times I add some to the soup and then I add some to the ground meat, but in this case, we just add it all to the ground meat. We're going to do a great job of seasoning the soup, and so you may look at that and say, wow, it's a lot of onion, but trust me, it's all going to meld together. It's all going to marry together in the same pot, so to speak. There we go. I've added just a little bit of sliced garlic, and I love to add just a touch of fennel seed. A little dried oregano, and some crushed red pepper flakes. Now, think of what we're doing here. This could be any ground meat, right? I do this with turkey a lot of times. And what happens is that we're actually making Italian sausage right here in the bowl. A touch of salt. And some fresh cracked black pepper. Now, nhớ hồi đó mình đi được xe buýt không? Get in there and stir that 1 second, but not before I add just a touch of rice. You can add breadcrumbs and that, but you always have rice on hand. I mean, I am from South Louisiana, so I love adding just a little bit of rice to that. And
don't worry, you're going to say, oh, look, the rice isn't cooked. That's the point. The rice will cook, and it's absorbing flavors, and it's taking in the flavors of the soup, as well as flavoring the soup in the process. So this is how we'll do this. I'll just tackle this with my hands.
Ready for your pill?
Again, this could be the breakfast sausage. This could be Italian sausage. Whatever you happen to have. You make your little meatballs. If you need to combine them, that's fine too.
Good.
Now,
Thank you so much.
now over here, let's turn this pot on medium high. And I want to just cover the bottom with just a little touch of extra virgin olive oil. By all means, if you have it, use some bacon fat. That's going to work well. It's about using the flavors that you have, getting the most out of them.
Fresh water for your pill.
Just add a little more. And then cast iron pot like this is always great to use because they retain the heat and they'll brown these little meatballs that will be very even-like.
Hey, you got one pill at lunchtime. See, it's yellow one side, green on the other.
Use what you have on hand. That's the key here.
There's your water.
All right, so let's look at what we got. The meatballs are browning nicely. Flip that last one, and then I think we're ready. There we go. Those are looking really nice. Now just give a couple cloves of garlic chopped. This soup really doesn't take long at all. The truth is, almost everything besides the meatballs are already cooked. Now, if you don't have the rice, then don't worry about the rice. Just use a little bit of breadcrumb. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to act as a panado, which means it's going to really give the meatballs some body. And I'll chop a couple of these little spring
Nên tăng
onions.
cho cà thi nha.
Now remember, we already have a lot of onions, so I'm not too worried about
Nên là đi nữa.
much more than just
Đánh căng
a
này.
little bit here.
The straw is okay. I'm going to make me. Okay.
Let's grab a tomato. I use a little bit of tomato sauce in this recipe. If I have a good ripe tomato, that's not going to hurt either. I want this to be chunky. It needs to be very, very rustic. Now it's time just to add a touch of tomato sauce. And again, I use what we can ourselves. See that coming up nicely. And some chicken broth. So when it comes down to it, these are my secret weapons. Having great things at my fingertips that I can use, a good stock and a wonderful tomato sauce go a long way. Let's look at this pot here. It's looking good. Okay, there's this one burnt one in there. I'll take care of that later, but first I want to let it poach up. And I'm waiting for this to come to a boil. I'll raise the heat up to a good high flame. And just add a little more tomato. You know, a touch more chicken isn't going to hurt. Now some black-eyed peas. Yeah, this is my southern version. If you have some white beans, red beans, black beans, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be great. Use whatever legumes that you happen to have left over. If you don't have any leftover legumes that had been previously cooked, by all means, you can just slow the process down, use some raw, use some frozen. Even canned product is going to work well. This is meant to be very forgiving. This is man food from the fish camp, as we say. All right, and we'll cook this. Allowing this to simmer just for a few more minutes. And then I have these leftover mustard greens. And I'm going to give them a nice rough chop. Nothing more than that. Here we go. Let this simmer. What you see, it's starting to boil around the edges here. And when I say simmer, I want to see small bubbles like like swamp water almost, where you just have a few bubbles right here in the middle. It doesn't need to be a hard boil at all. If you have a violent boiling, what happens is these meatballs break up and you end up with something that more or less resembles chili, and that's not what we want. So now, some fresh picked thyme. If you have fresh, use it. If not, the dry is going to work. This is starting to smell great. And then add a little bit of chopped basil. Tell you what we're going to do. We'll season this with a touch more salt and a little black pepper. We'll put a lid on it, and I'll give it about 15 minutes. So now it's time to take a look. It is looking great, smelling even better. You see how nice and brothy that is? Those meatballs are rendered down a little bit. Some of them are broken up, but they look pretty good. Right into a bowl. Can you imagine how beautiful this would be coming in from the cold marsh on a winter's day to settle down to a bowl of the soup? Coming up next, a great pasta carbonara, a recipe that my wife absolutely loves. So pasta carbonara is one of the go-to recipes we use on a fairly consistent basis. Right here I've got some garganelli pasta cooking in some salted
Làm
water.
gì đây?
Water kind of boil. It takes about 11
làm gì?
minutes to cook just about any
Nhân
dry
cho sạch.
pasta out there. And
Sạch
what I want to
đây.
do while that
Để
pasta is
đi luôn.
working, I'm going to
Ngồi
start
để
off
thấy tiên.
with rendering a little bit of bacon
Cái tiên thì
in a
tốn
pan
tiền.
over, say, medium heat.
Cái tiên tốn tiền không, Cathy?
Không biết.
Just a
Tiên
touch
là
of olive
quyền.
oil.
Tiên là tiền.
This bacon that I'm using happens to be a good slab bacon. Really
Tiên là quyền
smoky,
tiền.
really rich in flavor. And a lot of times I use whatever leftover ham that I have. So if I have a little glazed ham left over from my Sunday supper, then by all means that finds its way into this pasta dish as well. So just like a touch of this bacon. And the bacon here, the bacon and the eggs in this dish really make it just warm. And I just like a nice
Chỉ
thick cut.
chữ tiên đi với chữ tiền.
Let that render down.
Thấy tiên thì tốn tiền.
Tại sao?
It's gonna add
Cái
big
tiền
time
thì thấy
flavor
tốn.
to this pasta dish.
Cái tiền thì đi với tốn.
Every now and then I want to look over your pasta, give it a good
Tiên
stir.
không có chùa.
But for the most part, we just leave that alone.
Bây giờ mấy chùa giờ mà tổ chức mà khánh thành đại hội mời ca sĩ nổi tiếng
Ừ.
That is
vô
looking
cửa
good.
tự do,
While that's working,
MC Việt Thảo
I'll just take
Sao
a
không
little
biết?
bit of onion,
báo đăng. Chùa bây giờ
Chùa nghèo rồi.
those
nghèo hay giàu không biết mà
that are
chơi vậy đó.
garden for me. Any old onion will work.
Chơi sợ lái sáng về sớm.
Thôi đừng nói tầm bậy mang tội.
Get that chop. And again, just no more than say half a cup of a chopped onion. Half a cup of chopped onion is going to be fine. If that.
Chừng cho xanh nước nóng quá. Mình chả
She
ra.
just wants to be with you, our lady.
See how that bacon's rendering down nicely?
Cái bàn chải này đâu phải của mi.
Về bằng sải có thi bằng chảy gì? Có bông hả?
Ừ,
Đúng không?
con gác đó.
Bằng gách có bông hả?
Đúng rồi.
Để chữ Nguyễn nè.
So sweet.
Bằng gách hả? Đúng không?
No more sweetness.
Còn cái này của ai vậy?
And a little bit of sliced garlic.
Ok rồi.
Give it a little stir. At this point, I'm going to add just a touch of cream. Did you see that? Just a touch. Little milk will work fine. A lot of times, I add almost no cream whatsoever. I'm going to hit it with just a touch of pepper flakes, which is not classic Italian by any stretch of the imagination, and a little bit of my ground nutmeg.
Cravings up there, correct?
You see how the sauce looks like it's breaking? Don't let it
Any
boil.
cravings?
What I want is a lot of this
Này
water
đúng
from
không?
the pasta.
Ta đánh này.
Đưa đánh lại đó luôn.
Straining it all out completely. You see that? Just a little bit of that pasta water. It's going to do the trick.
I guess I have to go visit her then.
I mean, really, what's not to like here? Bacon, onion, garlic, pasta.
Ok rồi.
Now,
Oh, she is?
let's
Why?
make a couple of egg yolks here.
Cái bàn chải này của chị Tiết à?
Yeah.
Mà sẽ để trên cái kia của thấy tên bà. Cái này của chị Tiết, còn cái này của ai?
Không biết.
Cái đó của ở trong cái kia đừng có lấy cái đó cũ chi tiết không có thích cái đó đâu. Cái đó chị không thích đâu đó, tại nó đánh đau cái nút răng của bả đó.
Nó cứng.
Cứng ngắt cứng. Cái nào em để trong cái này á thì của chị.
Cái ly này của chị này.
Cái ly của bả.
Rồi,
Vô cái tay. Để máy cho. Ba.
Đánh xong rồi đẩy ra đó kêu nó chứ từ khi đẩy ra đó khi nó cho chị ngủ cả tiếng đồng hồ là cái này xong rồi. Rồi để anh dọn này cho chị xúc cái để anh lấy khăn ra, anh lấy thêm nước.
Phun nhẹ nhẹ, ra tay phun nhẹ nhẹ. Phun gì văng trên tivi vậy? Phun từ từ thôi, phun nhẹ.
Tivi để ở đâu mà Giang?
Nè.
Đâu phải tivi.
Cái iPad của hôm qua. Sao đi lấy luộc chi vậy? Chảy đầu hả?
Rồi ok.
Notice I'm not adding salt to this. We have the
Rồi tôi rồi.
we have the pasta already cooked in salt water. I'm using a little bit of that water
Nhả ra đi.
and have all the bacon in there. So creamy that it gets.
Xông nó đi.
A little more of that water.
Rồi cái nãy nóng cái này lạnh quá vậy.
Xúc đi, xúc đi.
And just cooking and stirring, making sure that we don't end up with
Xúc
scrambled
đi
eggs
vậy gãi răng
at the
ấy.
bottom there. It's all about making sure those yolks,
Mới nóng nó vô lạnh rồi.
each little noodle. Now to serve this,
Rồi, xong nhả ra.
Lấy thêm nè.
all we want to do
Nhả ra, nhả ra.
is scoop it up right
Làm gì kỳ vậy?
to a plate or a bowl, fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano at the top.
Gì ra.
Ôi dạ.
A touch of the green onion. The flavor of the nutmeg with the cheese really takes me back to Italy. But the bacon, that's pure southern. Coming up next, a little chocolate bondino. Think of it as just a fine chocolate custard. You're gonna love it. All right, cream, chocolate. Talking about some egg yolks and some sugar. What's not to like? This is the way I love to make dessert. Actually, I should say this is the way my wife loves me to make dessert. I'm making a chocolate budino, which basically in French we call it a chocolate pot de creme, or just a plain old chocolate custard in English. This is something I love to do in advance, and it's almost better for it. I'll show you why. Here, just have a little bit of cream and some milk. I'm going to bring
Yeah,
that
yeah.
up to a boil with some of this milk chocolate.
Thấy tiên thì
This
sao?
chocolate has a touch of hazelnut.
Tiên thì thấy tiền.
Look how soft that is.
Cái tiên là tốn tiền.
You can eat
Làm gì
this
tốt?
just like that.
Tiên là đòi tiền không.
I'm not being filmed.
Chữ tiên có chữ tốn trong.
Không có.
And I want to have
Có khi
place that
muốn thấy
over,
tiên
let's just say
Không thích.
trước
medium,
khi ngủ
medium
á.
high flame. I
Lấy
don't
chế
want this
đầu
to
đi
blow. I
ngủ
don't
cái
want to
tim.
scorch the chocolate underneath. But while that's heating up,
Okay.
if I
Cởi
put
mặt
this
kìa, cởi
together,
mặt
the
lâu.
chocolate won't break. If
Rồi,
I
rồi thẳng
add
vô.
the chocolate in small amounts, then what we have are the
Rồi,
chocolate
cảm
tends to
ơn.
seize up on us.
Muốn
And
cái
it's
tim
not-
không?
Thấy trên
Giờ mình đẩy ra cho nó kêu nó đem ra ngủ.
nó kêu là
Just let the heat, the cream, and the chocolate
Chứ cái gì vậy?
do its thing. Now,
đen no chưa
let's take
No rồi,
some
no
egg
nê
yolks.
quá rồi. Chú cho cái gì đâu vậy?
A couple whole eggs.
Chú cho cái chân trái xong tao đau quá.
ai làm gì đau chưa bới đụng tới nó đau.
Bởi vậy nó
And we'll beat those together a little bit
đau
with a touch of sugar.
Ok, cảm ơn.
And you see this written in a recipe. This is called cream. You want to cream the sugar and the butter together. And unlike a lot of custards, I like to beat this one up a little bit, incorporating just a touch of air into these egg yolks. The perfect ratio for this budino would be anywhere from 8 to 10 egg yolks per quart of cream. So we have the cream here. That's working away. Just want to let it heat up just a touch. So what's happening here? Not only am I melting this chocolate, I'm heating this up so much that we'll begin the cooking process in the bowl. We'll cook these egg yolks just a little bit. I'll show you how we'll do that. Add a little bit of our remaining chocolate, and we'll just continue to stir. Or raise that heat up to a medium high, if not high. And I just want to scald that milk and cream. Just want to bring it up to a boil real quick. Now, if you can't find the hazelnut chocolate, just use good dark chocolate. That's going to work fine. If you notice, I added a dash of salt to this mix as well. That salt will help bring out subtle flavors in the chocolate. I think helps pronounce the hazelnut in the dish. I find with a lot of sweets, just a pinch of salt will help give it some balance. This looks really, really good. I'm going to turn that down low, or turn it off actually. I want to start stirring. And what I want to do is whisk this in such a way that I'm adding this hot cream and chocolate mixture, not all at once, but slowly. In essence, I'm tempering these eggs. And then after we have them started